So there were a lot of reasons why I really wanted to come to the Czech Republic. I mean, first of all, obviously the lab that I was interested in collaborating with is located here, but also I'm a really big traveler and I love exploring new places and getting to know new cultures, and the Czech Republic is a place that I really had never explored before. And it's really located at the heart of Europe. It's in the center of everything, so there's great access to a bunch of different places, and the Czech Republic has a really interesting history. I mean, even just over the past 100 years, there's so many historical events that have happened here, and there's beautiful architecture, and I've heard people say that it's really sort of like a hidden gem of Europe, and I really think that's true. So I thought that this would be a great place to sort of expand my horizons, get to know a new culture, maybe learn a new language, which hasn't really been working so well for me so far, and you know, live in a foreign country authentically. I've been lucky actually that I've gotten to do a lot of traveling before my Fulbright stay here. So my family has always been big travelers, and so I visited a lot of different parts of Western Europe specifically, and it has a completely different feel from this Central European region. This has a very like medieval feel, and the people I think have a little bit of a different demeanor than what I'm used to in the United States or in Western Europe. But it's been such a great experience to hear a different language, to eat different food, and to learn sort of like a different history and background of a place. I think that I expected when I came here that there would be sort of like this culture shock that everyone talks about, and I thought that it would be very difficult for me to relate to the Czech people here because we come from different backgrounds, cultures, and histories. But I found that while there are definitely cultural nuances and differences, this really hasn't been the case, and I haven't really had that much trouble connecting with people here. Obviously, there are differences. Like for example, Czech people don't smile as much as Americans do, and they don't wave as much, and you don't go up to someone and say, "Hi, how are you?" all the time like you do in the US. So that is different, but I think that even though there's not that friendly exterior, there is a very like warm and generous and open interior that really surprised me, because I think we have sort of the stereotype of Central and Eastern Europeans being very cold and not extremely warm people, but I found that they have been super helpful and generous with me every step of the way. And of course, there are definitely everyday differences that I've noticed, and that differ between the U.S. and the Czech Republic. I mean, the way that holidays are celebrated is different. They don't have Santa Claus, which surprised me. They don't really celebrate Halloween here, which baffles me as an American. And they're just little things every day. Like for example, you go and you sit yourself down at a restaurant instead of being seated, and you don't really speak that loudly on public transportation. And I've noticed that Americans are a lot louder than Czech people are overall. But I think all of that being said, there are they have the same passions and loves and desires as Americans do, and it's been a lot easier than I expected to connect with Czech people and to understand them despite all these cultural nuances. So I think I'd go back and tell myself that I shouldn't be scared of the culture shock, and that it would be simpler than I expected to relate to people here. I picked Fulbright because I really wanted an experience where I'm able to pursue my interests and my passions in science, but also do so in a way where I can explore other cultures and experience other things, and just get an experience that is sort of unlike no other. And I really think that that's the experience that you're getting here in Fulbright, because I'm able to not only work in the lab, but I'm also able to meet other Fulbrighters who have the same passion for adventure and to explore new things, and I'm able to see this beautiful country and to experience things that I never have before. And so there are so many amazing things that I love about Fulbright, and so many opportunities that I would have never gotten otherwise. I'm able to go to a bunch of different conferences in other countries and meet other Fulbrights, learn about their interests, their research projects, their passions. I had a lot of fear about what it was going to be like to live in a whole new country by myself and be pursuing this research just completely on my own. And I think that since I've been here, one of the best things that I've realized about Fulbright has been the Fulbright community. It's just a group, the other Fulbrighters are a group of such wonderful, open-minded, adventurous, friendly, smart people, and getting to know them has been such an amazing experience, and we've gotten to experience so many things together. We've gotten to explore so many different parts of the country. We've had to travel together, and it's really made me feel like I have a home away from home. And so, you don't have to worry about being completely on your own here, because that's really not what this experience is like at all. I think another great part about Fulbright is that you're really completely immersed in the country that you're studying in. It's not really like a study abroad where you sort of feel like you're going to an American college in a different country. This is really an experience where you're living and working among people of this country and people of a different culture. And that's something that I would have never been able to experience otherwise. And so I'm so lucky to be able to pursue my interests and my passions through my research, but also do so in a way that's opening up my horizons and my perspectives and getting me to think about things in a whole new light. So syphilis is a really interesting disease because it's sort of, contemporarily known as a historical disease. It's something that we think of in modern times as being completely abolished and something that we don't have to worry about. And this was true up until about 15 or 20 years ago. But now what we're seeing is a really huge global resurgence of syphilis. Yes, so despite the use of antibiotics for syphilis, which works most of the time, we've seen a global resurgence. And so there are a couple of reasons for that. So one reason is that, and this is scientifically predicted, but there is antibiotic resistance that has been seen in different parts of the world with regard to syphilis. So this is making antibiotics a little bit less effective in these parts of the world. But there are also several factors that are contributing to this as well. Another problem with syphilis is that we are seeing that there's not really much talk about it in modern society. There's not a lot of education, there's not a lot of information being spread about it. So people don't really understand the real threat of syphilis. They don't really know that there is a resurgence, that it's something that they have to worry about. There's not a lot of education on the disease itself, the treatment options, or the symptoms. So people can't really take preventative measures to protect themselves against syphilis. So, and this is why we really need a global syphilis vaccine. This is, as we can see, even though we have treatment options, we're still seeing a resurgence and rising numbers of syphilis cases, especially congenital syphilis that's being passed from the mother to the child. And so this really shows that we need a real scientific preventative measure to combat this disease effectively. So the vaccine development of syphilis has been a really challenging process for a lot of different reasons. One of the biggest reasons is that syphilis is a very specific bacteria in the sense that it's really difficult to cultivate it in vitro, meaning outside of a living organism. And so this inability to culture syphilis in vitro has hindered our development of a vaccine a lot. So up until a couple of years ago, there really was no in vitro cultures of syphilis, and now there are only a couple of labs around the world that are able to continuously culture the Treponema pallidum bacteria in vitro. And so the lab that I'm working in here in the Czech Republic is one of the very few around the world. And so because we're not able to effectively culture syphilis in vitro in a lot of different labs, this has really hindered our ability to characterize and study the outer membrane proteins that are necessary to understand how syphilis works, how it invades, how it infects, how immunity and resistance work with the bacteria. And so this has hindered our ability to be able to develop a vaccine. So during my stay here in the Czech Republic, I'm working at Masaryk University to help aid in this process of developing a syphilis vaccine. My research specifically is first going to be studying the differences in proteins across different strains of syphilis worldwide. So we have strains from the United States, from Mexico, from India, from the Czech Republic, from different parts of the world. And so I'm going to be looking at the structural differences between the strains and the differences in the proteins, and hopefully that'll be able to shed light on some of the functional differences of why some have a higher infectivity, why some have a higher growth rate, etc., things of that sort. After that, I will be then looking at, I'll be trying to characterize the different proteins of the outer membrane of syphilis and the antigenic proteins. And hopefully I'll be able to analyze which proteins are effectively linking with antibodies and know which proteins would then be used effectively as a vaccine candidate. And so hopefully that will be able to point the scientific world in more of a clear direction of what proteins should be used in a vaccine, and get the process moving a little bit more quickly towards a vaccine. And so what I really love about my lab work is that it's an extremely collaborative process, and everyone in my lab is really working towards the same goal of trying to understand the syphilis bacteria and understand the mystery that's surrounding it, because it really is a bacteria that we don't have a lot of published information about. And so because of that, we're really all working together, and everyone is really, really willing to help me. My professor, Dr. Schmeiss, that I'm working under, is always available to answer my questions, to guide me further, to stoke new questions within me. And the other PhD students in my lab, the other researchers, they've all been so willing to help me to understand, you know, the information that I learned back in the United States, to explain what they do here in the Czech Republic, and to make a more collaborative group process that we can really use to work together.